The massive alien warship hovered over the small human settlement on Colony 7, like a storm cloud promising destruction. The settlers watched from below, as the ship blocked out the twin suns that normally bathed their homes in golden light. Fear gripped every heart except for one. Kate Summers stood on the highest rooftop staring up at the vessel with narrowed eyes, while others ran for shelter. Her brown hair whipped around her face in the wind, created by the ship's engines. Her hands clenched into fists at her sides. She had seen this before 5 years ago. These same aliens, the Drakari, had destroyed her home planet of Lyra, 7 leaving her one of only a few hundred survivors. The ship was at least 2 miles long with jagged edges that resembled claws. Its hull gleamed with a metallic purple sheen that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Kate knew from bitter experience that those sleek lines concealed weapon systems capable of reducing the entire colony. "To ash in minutes, Kate. We need to evacuate Steve," her friend and fellow colonist shouted from below. His face was pale with fear. "Get down from there." Kate shook her head. "They destroyed 3 human colonies already. They won't stop until we're all gone. Someone has to stand up to them." Steve looked at her like she had lost her mind. "They're Drakari, the most advanced warrior species in the known galaxy. What can you possibly do?" Kate didn't answer. Instead, she turned and climbed down from the roof. She had a plan, one that everyone would call insane, but she had studied the Drakari ever since the fall of Lyra 7. She knew things about them that perhaps no other human alive did. Inside her small, prefabricated home, Kate moved quickly. She pulled a metal trunk from beneath her bed and unlocked it with a fingerprint scan. Inside lay a collection of items she had gathered over 5 years of obsessive preparation. A translator device stolen from a dead Drakari soldier, a partial map of a Drakari warship obtained from a black market dealer on Proxima Station, and most importantly, a small device that looked like a simple metal cube. The evacuation sirens wailed outside as colonists rushed toward the underground bunkers. Kate knew the bunkers wouldn't save them. The Drakari had sensors that could detect life signs hundreds of feet below ground. Once the colonists were trapped underground, the aliens would simply bombard the area until nothing remained. Kate slipped the cube device into her pocket along with the translator. She didn't bother with weapons. The Drakari stood nearly 8 feet tall with 4 arms and skin like armored plate. No human weapon could harm them. Not directly anyway. Outside chaos reigned as people grabbed whatever possessions they could carry and ran toward the bunker entrances. Kate moved against the tide of fleeing colonists, heading instead toward the small spaceport where the colony's few ships were docked. Steve spotted her and changed direction to intercept. "Where are you going?" he demanded, grabbing her arm. "The bunkers are that way." Kate pulled free. "Tell Governor Hayes that the Drakari won't fire for at least 12 minutes. "How could you possibly know that?" "They have rituals," Kate said. "They always spend exactly 12 minutes in prayer before beginning an extermination. They believe it cleanses their souls for the killing to come." Steve stared at her. "How do you?" "I've been studying them for 5 years." Kate cut him off. "Now go. I need a ship before." Steve could argue further. Kate slipped past him and continued toward the spaceport. She didn't have time to explain, and she knew he wouldn't understand anyway. No one did. That's why she had kept her plan secret all these years. Waiting for this moment, the spaceport was deserted. Everyone having fled toward the bunkers, Kate quickly approached the smallest ship available, a single pilot shuttle used for short supply runs. She placed her hand on the security panel, having hacked it months ago, just in case this day came. The door slid open inside. Kate worked quickly, powering up systems and overriding safety protocols. The ship's computer protested. Warning: Drakari warship detected in orbit. Departure not recommended. Override authorization. Summers. Alpha 7. Kate commanded. The computer hesitated, then complied, though it continued to flash warning lights across the console. Kate strapped herself in and engaged the engines. The small shuttle lifted from the landing pad with a whine of protest. Kate knew her actions appeared suicidal. To fly directly toward a Drakari warship was considered certain death. Yet she guided the shuttle upward, accelerating rapidly toward the massive alien vessel hanging in the sky, in the command center of the Drakari. Warship High Commander Zalara watched the approaching human shuttle with 4 yellow eyes that blinked in sequence. Her scaled skin shimmered with iridescent purple highlights as she turned to her second-in-command. "A single human ship approaches," she said, her voice a rumbling growl. "Unusual." Second Commander Dreth clicked his mandibles in amusement. "Perhaps they send a sacrifice hoping to appease us." Zalara didn't laugh. Unlike most of her kind, she had studied humans, finding them strangely fascinating. Despite their obvious inferiority, they were physically weak with only 2 arms and soft skin that tore easily. Yet they had spread across dozens of star systems, adapting to environments that would kill most species. They showed a resourcefulness that occasionally bordered on brilliant. "Scan the vessel," Zalara ordered. The scan shows 1 human female, Dreth reported moments later. "No significant weapons detected. The ship itself is unarmed." Zalara narrowed her outer eyes. "This is strange. The humans usually hide or attempt to fight with their primitive weapons. This direct approach is unprecedented on the small shuttle." Kate watched the massive ship grow larger in her view screen. Her heart hammered in her chest, but her hands remained steady on the controls. She had rehearsed this moment countless times in her mind. The cube device in her pocket began to hum softly, detecting the proximity of the Drakari vessel. Kate removed it and placed it on the console. It was a Drakari religious artifact she had recovered from the ruins of her home planet. The sphere of ancestral voices considered sacred by all Drakari. The cube had been presumed destroyed when the Drakari fleet bombarded Lyra 7, but Kate had found it while digging through the ashes of her family home. Kate activated the shuttle's communication system, broadcasting on all frequencies. She spoke clearly into the microphone. "I am Kate Summers, survivor of Lyra 7. I carry the sphere of ancestral voices. I request audience." By right of the ancient protocol aboard the Drakari vessel, Commander Zalara froze as the transmission reached her. The words the human female spoke were sacred terms known only to Drakari High Command. It was impossible blasphemy. "Dreth," hissed, preparing to give the order to destroy the shuttle. "Stop," Zalara commanded. Her claw shot out, grabbing Dreth's arm. "Scan for the sphere." Dreth hesitated, then complied. The scan shows an object matching the energy signature of the sphere. He admitted reluctantly, "But it must be a trick." "The sphere was destroyed when we cleansed Lyra." 7. Zalara felt a cold sensation run down her spine, something no Drakari would admit to feeling: fear. How could this human have the sphere? And more importantly, how did she know of the ancient protocol? The sacred law that compelled any Drakari commander to grant audience to one who carried the sphere. "The law is absolute," Zalara said. "We must allow her to board." Dreth looked horrified. "But Commander, this human, the ancient protocol predates our war with humans," Zalara reminded him. "If we violate it, we risk the ancestors' wrath. Bring the human aboard." But double the guard. Kate felt a subtle shift as her shuttle was caught in the larger ship's tractor beam. She allowed herself a small smile of grim satisfaction. Phase 1 complete. Now came the truly dangerous part. The shuttle was drawn into a massive docking bay, where it settled gently on the polished metal floor. Kate gathered her courage and stood moving toward the shuttle's door. She tucked the cube carefully into her pocket, the translator device she attached to her wrist making sure it was functioning. When the shuttle door opened, Kate found herself facing 20 Drakari warriors, each standing over 8 feet tall with 4 arms holding various weapons. Their scaled bodies were encased in partial armor that enhanced rather than covered their natural protection. Their faces were reptilian with 4 yellow eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Kate stepped forward, keeping her posture straight and her face calm. She had learned that Drakari respected confidence and despised weakness. She could not afford to show fear now. The Drakari warriors formed a corridor leading her deeper into the ship. Kate walked between them, feeling their hostile gazes but keeping her eyes forward. At the end of the corridor stood a female Drakari, distinguished by the elaborate golden markings on her scales and the ceremonial armor she wore. "I am High Commander Zalara. The female Drakari said, her voice translated by Kate's device. You claim to carry the sphere of ancestral voices. You claim the right of the ancient protocol. Kate nodded. I do. Show me the sphere, Zalara demanded. Kate carefully removed the cube from her pocket and held it up. The device began to glow with an inner light pulsing in rhythm like a heartbeat. The Drakari warriors stepped back, some making gestures that Kate recognized as religious signs. It is the sphere, Zalara admitted, though she sounded reluctant. How did you come to possess it? Human, I found it in the ruins of my home after your ships destroyed Lyra 7. Kate answered, keeping her voice steady. It took me years to understand what it was, years more to learn of its significance to your people. Zalara studied Kate with all four eyes. You are either very brave or very foolish to come here alone. What do you seek with this audience? Kate took a deep breath. Here was the moment. Kate awoke to the sound of metal scraping against metal. The door to her chamber slid open, revealing two Drakari warriors, their scaled skin gleaming under the ship's harsh lighting. Time for the first challenge. Human, one of them growled. Kate rose to her feet, keeping her expression neutral. She had slept fitfully on the hard metal bench, her dreams filled with memories of Lyra 7 and the family she had lost. But now she needed to focus. The trial of worthiness would begin with the challenge of mind, then proceed to the challenge of spirit, and finally the challenge of body, each designed to be nearly impossible for a Drakari to complete, let alone a physically weaker species. The warriors led her through winding corridors. Each step took her deeper into the massive warship. Kate memorized their path, noting the location of escape pods and access panels. She had studied Drakari ship schematics for years, though never from the inside. The reality was both familiar and disorienting. They arrived at a large circular chamber with a domed ceiling. The walls glowed with an eerie blue light, and the floor was inscribed with symbols Kate recognized as ancient Drakari script. In the center stood High Commander Zalara, flanked by what appeared to be Drakari elders. Their scales had faded to pale lavender with age, and they wore elaborate robes rather than armor. The human invokes the trial of worthiness, Zalara announced, her voice echoing in the chamber. She carries the sphere of ancestral voices and claims the rights of the ancient protocol. The elders studied Kate with their yellowed eyes. One stepped forward, his movements slow but deliberate. You understand, human, that no off-worlder has ever survived the trial. I understand, Kate replied, her translator converting her words to the hissing clicks of the Drakari language. And yet you persist, the elder said. Why? Kate met his gaze. Because the destruction of innocent worlds must end. The elder tilted his head. Your species is young, barely space capable. Your colonies encroach on territories claimed by the Drakari Empire millennia before humans learned to make fire. Why should we not simply eliminate the infestation? Kate had anticipated this question. It formed the heart of the challenge, of mind, not a test of intelligence but of wisdom and understanding. We may be young, she replied, but that doesn't make our lives worthless. Youth brings new perspectives, ideas. Your empire hasn't considered in thousands of years. Diversity strengthens, the galaxy uniformity weakens it. The elder clicked his mandibles. The parasite argues that it benefits the body it infects. Amusing, Kate kept her expression neutral, despite her anger at being compared to a parasite. Consider that the Drakari Empire has not expanded its borders in over 500 years. Your technological advancement has slowed. Your population declines with each generation. These are not signs of strength, but of stagnation. A dangerous murmur ran through the assembled Drakari. Kate knew she was treading on dangerous ground, but the challenge of mind required honesty, not flattery. The elder studied her for a long moment. You speak boldly for one so fragile. Kate lifted her chin. I speak truth. Whether that truth is comfortable or not is irrelevant. The elder turned to Zalara. This one has courage, at least. Perhaps the challenge of mind will prove interesting. He gestured to an ornate chair positioned in the center of the room. Sit, human. Kate approached the chair cautiously. When she sat down, Metal restraints immediately snapped around her wrists and ankles. A circular device descended from the ceiling, positioning itself around her head, without quite touching it. The challenge of mind begins. The elder announced, "We will see what knowledge dwells within you." The device above Kate's head hummed to life. Blue energy crackled around its circumference. Kate felt a pressure build inside her skull, as if something was trying to force its way into her thoughts. The Drakari mind probe. Kate had read about this technology that could extract information directly from a subject's brain, but the accounts hadn't mentioned the pain. It felt like needles stabbing into her mind from all directions. She gritted her teeth, fighting. The urge to scream. Images flashed before her eyes, memories being pulled to the surface. Her childhood on Lyra 7. Her parents teaching her to farm the strange blue soil. Her sister laughing as they chased each other through fields of alien wheat. The day the Drakari ships appeared in the sky, the fire, the screaming, the ashes. The pain intensified. Kate felt her consciousness being peeled apart, layer by layer. The probe was designed for Drakari minds, not human ones. The difference made the process. Excruciating sweat beaded on her forehead as she fought to remain conscious. Then abruptly the questioning began. How many human colonies exist in this sector? The elder demanded, his voice seeming to come from inside her own mind. Kate saw star charts. Appearing in her mind's eye saw the locations of human settlements. Not just the official colonies, but the secret ones as well. Information that would doom thousands if revealed. With tremendous effort, Kate focused on the official records. Only 8 recognized colonies. She answered, her voice strained. 17 outposts. The probe pushed deeper, seeking the truth. Kate used techniques she had practiced for years, mentally reciting complex mathematical equations to create barriers around certain thoughts. It wasn't perfect, but it created enough mental static to obscure the hidden colonies. What weapons do humans possess capable of harming Drakari vessels? Again, images rose unbidden in Kate's mind. Experimental shield disruptors being developed. In secret labs on Earth, prototype weapons that could potentially penetrate Drakari armor. Kate forced herself to think. Instead of the publicly known defensive systems, standard plasma cannons, kinetic barriers. Nothing that can penetrate Drakari shields. She gasped. The probe dug deeper. Its energy spiking, Kate felt blood trickling from her nose, but she maintained her concentration. Why do you believe humans deserve to survive? This question hit differently. It wasn't seeking specific information, but a philosophical perspective. The probe's energy shifted subtly, no longer trying to extract memories, but to understand beliefs. Kate let her true feelings flow here, because every sentient species has the right to exist, she thought. We don't claim to be perfect. We have our own violent history, our own prejudices and failures, but we learn, we adapt, we grow. And we can offer something to this galaxy that it has never seen before. What the elder demanded? Hope, Kate replied. A willingness to change, to evolve, not just physically, but culturally, morally. We don't measure time in thousands of years, so we aren't bound by ancient traditions. We see possibilities where you see only the patterns of the past. The probe pulsed painfully once more, then retracted. The restraints around Kate's limbs released. She slumped forward, breathing heavily, wiping blood from her nose with the back of her hand. The elder conferred with the others in hushed tones. Finally, he turned to Zalara. The human has survived the challenge. Of mind, she knows much of our ways, which is concerning. But she has shown wisdom beyond her years. She may proceed to the challenge of spirit. Kate felt a surge of relief, which she carefully kept from showing on her face. One challenge down, two to go, but each would be progressively more difficult. And she was already exhausted. Zalara approached, studying Kate with an unreadable expression. You continue to surprise, human. Most subjects require days to recover from the mind probe, yet you remain conscious. Kate met the commander's gaze. I'm ready for the next challenge. Zalara clicked her mandibles in what might have been amusement. Very well. Kate was led from the chamber, her legs shaky but determined. She had studied the 3 challenges extensively. The challenge of mind tested wisdom and honesty. The challenge of body tested strength and skill. But it was the challenge of spirit that concerned her most. It tested courage and resolve. By forcing the subject to confront their deepest fears, the warriors took her to a different part of the ship where the lighting grew dimmer, and the air felt heavy with an odd scent. Kate recognized as Drakari incense. They stopped before a door marked with symbols that translated roughly as, "The void within enter," Human One warrior said. "The challenge of spirit awaits. Should you survive, we will retrieve you in 1 cycle." Kate stepped through the doorway, which sealed behind her with a hiss. The chamber beyond was completely dark. Not even emergency lighting. Visible Kate stood perfectly still, letting her eyes adjust, but the darkness remained absolute. A soft voice spoke from the emptiness. "The challenge of spirit reveals truth," it said. "The truth you hide even from yourself." Kate felt a shift in the air. Around her, the darkness seemed to thicken, becoming almost tangible. She tried to move, but found herself frozen in place. A sensation like cold fingers touched her mind, different from the probe, more subtle, more insidious. The chamber flooded with light. Kate gasped as she found herself standing on Lyra 7, but not the burning ruins she'd last seen. This was her home as it had been. The golden fields stretching to the horizon, the clusters of dome-shaped houses, the twin suns shining in a purple sky. "Mom," Kate whispered, seeing a figure approaching through the fields, her mother looking exactly as she had before the attack. Her father followed close behind, and then her sister, all smiling, all whole, all alive. "Kate, we missed you," her mother said, holding out her arms. "Come home." Kate felt tears streaming down her face. She knew this wasn't real. Knew it was the challenge creating illusions from her memories. But they looked so real, sounded so real. She could even smell her mother's perfume, a mix of earth and the strange flowers that grew only on Lyra 7. 3 years passed since Kate Summers had undergone the trial of worthiness aboard the Drakari warship. 3 years of careful diplomacy, scientific exchange, and slowly building trust between species that had once been mortal enemies. The peace had held, though not without challenges. Hardliners on both sides resisted the alliance. Generations of fear and hatred could not be erased overnight. Kate had grown accustomed to life among the Drakari. She maintained permanent quarters aboard the flagship Eternal Vigilance, now serving as the mobile embassy between Earth and the Drakari Empire. Her body had adapted to the slightly higher gravity, the different atmospheric composition, and the unusual foods, though she still kept a supply of human provisions for comfort. She stood now in the great meeting hall of the Drakari homeworld Scar, a massive ringed planet with gravity nearly twice that of Earth. The hall was filled with both Drakari and human representatives gathered for the 3rd anniversary of the peace accords. High Commander Zalara stood beside her, their unlikely friendship having deepened over the years of working together. The gathering marks progress. Kate observed, watching as humans and Drakari mingled cautiously, but with increasing comfort. 3 years ago, this would have been unimaginable. Zalara clicked her mandibles in agreement. Though not all celebrate our alliance, the purist faction grows more vocal. Their protests become more frequent. Kate nodded. The Drakari purists opposed any cooperation with humans, viewing the species as inferior, and the alliance as degrading to Drakari honor. Their human counterparts, the Earth First Movement, similarly rejected peaceful coexistence, calling for military build-up and isolation. Such voices exist in times of change, Kate said. But look around you. The benefits of our cooperation are undeniable. She gestured to a group of scientists huddled around a holographic display. A Drakari geneticist was demonstrating a breakthrough in treating scale rot, the degenerative disease that had plagued their species for centuries. Human genetic science combined with Drakari biological knowledge had produced treatments that showed remarkable promise. Elsewhere, human engineers consulted with Drakari architects on designs for hybrid vessels that could accommodate both species. A trading delegation discussed opening new routes through previously unexplored regions of space. These were the tangible results of Peace. A young Drakari approached them, moving with the careful, deliberate gait of the scientific caste rather than the predatory stride of warriors. Commander Zalara, Ambassador Summers, the youth said, bowing slightly. I have been asked to inform you that the renewal project has achieved its first success. Xalara's eyes widened, all four focusing intently on the messenger. The embryo is viable. The young scientist nodded. It has passed the critical 7-day development stage. All genetic markers appear stable. Kate felt a surge of excitement. The renewal project represented the most ambitious collaboration between their species. A program to address the Drakari fertility crisis using adapted human genetic techniques. The implication was enormous. If successful, it could reverse the population decline that had threatened the Drakari with eventual extinction. This is cause for celebration. Zalara said, her normally stoic demeanor breaking into what Kate had learned to recognize as joy. The elders must be informed immediately, as the messenger hurried away. Kate smiled at her friend. Congratulations. This is what we've been working toward. Zalara placed one clawed hand on Kate's shoulder, a gesture she had adopted from humans. It would not have been possible without your species' knowledge, without your presence here. Their moment of shared accomplishment was interrupted by an aide rushing toward them. Commander Ambassador, the Drakari female said, urgency in her voice. The Earth delegation ship is receiving an emergency transmission from the human colony on Proxima 4. Kate felt a chill. Proxima 4 was one of the newest human settlements located near the border of Drakari space. What is the nature of the emergency? She asked. Unknown, the aide replied. But they request your immediate presence. Kate and Zalara exchanged glances, both immediately alert to potential trouble. They moved quickly through the gathering toward the communication center located in an adjacent building, the Drakari. Around them parted, making way for the commander while eyeing the human ambassador, with expressions ranging from respect to lingering suspicion. In the communication center, a human officer waited, his face grave. Ambassador Summers, he said with a quick salute. Proxima 4 is under attack. Kate's heart sank. Who? She demanded. The officer activated a display showing grainy footage of ships in orbit around a distant world. Not Drakari, he said quickly. Some unknown species. Their landing ground forces. Reports indicate heavy casualties. Zalara stepped forward, hissing softly. Description of the attacking vessels. The officer pulled up enhanced images. The ships were organic-looking with hulls that seemed to pulse and shift, unlike the crystalline structures of Drakari vessels or the metallic designs favored by humans. I know these ships, Zalara said, her voice dropping to a dangerous register. Vrex. Kate looked at her friend questioningly. The Vrex are a predatory species from beyond the outer rim, Zalara explained. They raid territories, take resources and slaves, then vanish. We encountered them centuries ago, but they avoided Drakari space after suffering heavy losses. They must have detected the human colony and considered it unprotected. Kate made an immediate decision. We need to respond, she said. Proxima 4 has limited defenses. They can't withstand a full-scale invasion. Zalara nodded, already moving toward the door. My ship can reach Proxima 4 in 6 hours at maximum speed. I will order immediate deployment. Wait. Kate called the peace treaty. Drakari forces entering a human colony without formal request from Earth could be seen as violation of sovereignty. Zalara paused. Then how do you suggest we proceed? Time is critical, Kate thought, quickly, then turned to the human officer. Contact Earth Command, request emergency assistance for Proxima 4, under Article 7 of the Alliance Treaty. She faced Zalara. Article 7 allows for joint response to external threats. I will prepare my warriors, Zalara said. But the request must come through official channels. Kate nodded, understanding the delicate political balance they maintained. While waiting for official authorization, Kate and Zalara boarded the Eternal Vigilance and began preparations. The massive warship hummed with activity as Drakari warriors prepared for battle. Kate observed their efficiency with admiration. The warriors moved with purpose, checking weapons, inspecting armor, communicating in the clipped battle language of their kind. The requested authorization came through as they reached orbit. The message was brief but clear. Proxima 4, under attack by unknown hostiles. Request Drakari assistance, under Article 7 Alliance Treaty, signed Admiral Chen. Earth Command Solera ordered immediate departure. The great engines of the warship flared, pushing the vessel to maximum speed. Kate felt the subtle shift as they entered FTL travel, the stars outside becoming streaks of light in the command center. Solara assembled her officers. Kate stood among them, the only human present but accepted as part of the leadership team. The Vrex are formidable opponents, Solara told her officers. They use biological technology. Their ships and weapons are partly organic. They favor overwhelming numbers and shock tactics. Their warriors are vicious but undisciplined. A senior officer clicked his mandibles. They attacked a human colony. Why do we risk Drakari lives for this? Kate remained silent, knowing this was a question Solara needed to address for her own people. Commander Solara drew herself to her full height, her scales darkening with intensity. The treaty with humans is not merely words on data crystals. It is a bond of honor. If we abandon our allies, at the first challenge we prove ourselves unworthy of respect. 3 years ago, this human, she gestured to Kate, underwent the trial of worthiness and proved humans deserve our respect. Can we do less? The officer lowered his gaze, acknowledging the rebuke. Solara continued. We will arrive at Proxima 4 in 6 hours. I expect all warriors to be prepared for immediate deployment. Ground teams will assist human defenders, while our vessels engage the Virex ships in orbit A's. The officers dispersed. To prepare their units, Solara turned to Kate. Your colony has limited defenses. What can you tell me about them? Kate pulled up data on her tablet. Proxima 4 has 3 orbital defense platforms, standard kinetic barriers, and a small garrison of Earth Defense Force troops. Perhaps 500 soldiers. Total population is approximately 15,000. Mostly scientists, agricultural specialists, and support personnel. Solara studied the information. They cannot withstand a determined Virex. Assault the colony will have suffered significant damage before we arrive. I know, Kate said softly. But every minute we can reduce that damage matters. The journey to Proxima 4 seemed endless. Though the warship traveled at maximum speed, Kate spent the time reviewing everything known about the Vrex, which wasn't much. The species had avoided contact with major powers, preferring to prey on isolated settlements and weaker species. She also coordinated with Earth Command, arranging for additional human vessels to rendezvous at Proxima 4. The response was encouraging. A battle group was already en route, though they would arrive hours after the Drakari warship. Kate found Solara in her private chamber, the commander performing the ritual. Preparation for battle Kate had seen only once before. The Drakari stood before an altar containing small crystalline objects, each representing an ancestor. Kate stood before the Drakari High Council, her body aching from the trial of worthiness. She had been given minimal medical attention, just enough to ensure she wouldn't collapse during the proceedings. The council chamber was vast, with towering ceilings and walls covered in ancient script. 7 elder Drakari sat in a semicircle on raised platforms, their scales faded with age. Their eyes all focused intently on the small human female who had done the impossible. Speak, human High Elder Zorth, said his voice echoing in the chamber. You have earned the right to be heard. Kate took a careful breath, mindful of her cracked ribs, and addressed the council with the formal greeting she had practiced for years. Great ones who carry the wisdom of ages, I thank you for this audience. The elders clicked their mandibles in surprise at her knowledge of their ceremonial language. You have proven yourself worthy in the trial. Kate continued. By the ancient protocol, colony 7 is now under your protection. Indeed, Zorth acknowledged. The colony will not be harmed, but the trial protects only that single settlement, not your species as a whole. Kate nodded. I understand. But I stand before you to propose something unprecedented. A formal peace between humans and the Drakari Empire. A murmur ran through the chamber. The concept seemed to disturb the elders. One leaned forward, her scales almost white with extreme age. Peace. The female elder said the word, sounding strange in the Drakari language. Why would the Empire make peace with a species that encroaches on territories we claimed millennia ago? Kate had anticipated this question. For 5 years, she had studied not just Drakari combat techniques and physiology, but their history, their culture, and most importantly, their problems. The Drakari Empire faces challenges it has never encountered before. Kate said carefully, "Your population has been in decline for 7 centuries. Your genetic diversity decreases with each generation, leading to increased rates of scale rot and mind fever. Your technological advancement has stalled while other species rapidly catch up. Your empire has not expanded in 500 years." The elders shifted uncomfortably. Kate knew she was speaking forbidden truths. Facts. The Drakari leadership kept from their own people, but she needed to make them understand, how does a human know these things? Elder Zorth demanded, his voice dangerous. "I have dedicated my life to understanding the Drakari." Kate replied, "I know your history, your struggles, and I know that continuing this war will not solve your problems. It will only accelerate your decline." High Commander Zalara, who stood at the side of the chamber, stepped forward. "The humans speak some truth. Great elders, our latest population census shows a 12% decline from the previous century. Our scientists report increasing cases of genetic degradation." The elders conferred among themselves in hushed tones. Finally, Zorth addressed Kate again. "You claim to know our problems, human. Do you also claim to have solutions?" Kate nodded. "And I can demonstrate them. But first I must understand something. Has the Empire told you about the peace offers humans have extended over the years?" The elders looked to Zalara, who shifted uncomfortably. "There have been communications from Earth claiming to seek peace," she admitted. "But they were deemed insincere attempts to buy time, while humans expanded their colonies." Kate kept her expression neutral despite her frustration. Earth had been attempting diplomatic contact for years only to be rebuffed or ignored by the Drakari military. "I assure you the offers were genuine," Kate said. "Our leaders understand that war between our species benefits neither side. Humans do not want Drakari territories. We seek only to colonize worlds unsuitable for your people." Another elder leaned forward. Unsuitable, his scales an unusual mottled pattern that Kate recognized as indicating his role as a scientist. "Yes," Kate said, "most of the world's humans have colonized, have atmospheric compositions or gravity conditions that Drakari physiology cannot tolerate for extended periods. I believe your military has not shared this information with you." The scientific elder consulted a datapad. "Is this accurate?" Commander Zalara hesitated, then nodded. "Most human colonies are indeed established on worlds that would require extensive terraforming to meet Drakari needs." Kate saw her opening. "The conflict between our species is based on misunderstanding, not genuine competition for resources. Humans can thrive in environments toxic to Drakari, and we have technologies and genetic adaptability that could benefit your people in return for peaceful coexistence." Interest flickered across the elders' faces. Kate pressed her advantage, reaching carefully into her pocket and withdrawing a small data crystal. "With your permission," she said, "I would like to share information that demonstrates how an alliance would benefit both our species." Elder Zorth gestured to an aide who approached Kate, took the crystal, then carried it to a console near the elders. The data appeared on a large holographic display floating above the council table. "These are research findings from human scientists," Kate explained, navigation charts showing habitable worlds and unexplored regions outside Drakari territory. Genetic research that could help address your species' fertility crisis and immunological problems. Resource surveys identifying materials your empire needs without requiring conflict. The scientific elder studied the data with obvious fascination. "This genetic research," he said, "how would it apply to Drakari physiology?" Kate moved carefully to the console, clicking through to the relevant sections. "Human genetic science has advanced rapidly because of our own diversity. We developed techniques to address genetic deterioration that we believe could be adapted for Drakari physiology." The display showed complex genetic models, specifically adapted for Drakari biology. Kate had worked with human scientists for years developing these proposals, secretly preparing for this very moment. The scientific elder turned to his colleagues. "This appears sound in principle. It could potentially address the scale rot epidemic that has claimed thousands." Elder Zorth looked skeptical. What do humans seek in return for this knowledge? Kate met his gaze. Peace recognition of existing human colonies, protection under Drakari law, and open trade between our peoples. And if we refuse Zalara? Asked Kate, turned to the commander. With respect, if you continue this war, you will eventually win. Humans cannot match Drakari military might. But victory will cost you resources you cannot spare. Time you do not have and opportunities that will be lost forever. A Pyrrhic victory that hastens your empire's decline. The chamber fell silent as the elders absorbed her words. Kate stood tall despite her exhaustion and injuries. She had said what she came to say. Now it was up to the Drakari to decide. Elder Zorth finally spoke. The council will deliberate. You will await our decision. Commander Zalara, escort the human to suitable quarters. Kate was led from the chamber to a small but comfortable room. It contained furnishings designed for Drakari. Not humans, but she was too exhausted to care. She sank onto a sleeping platform, her body finally giving in to the accumulated injuries and fatigue of the trial. Despite the uncertainty of her situation, despite not knowing if her words had any impact, Kate fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. She awoke to the sound of the door opening. Commander Zalara entered the room, her towering form silhouetted against the corridor light. The council has reached a decision, Zalara said. Come. Kate rose, wincing at the pain in her ribs. She followed Zalara through the ship's corridors back to the council chamber. The elders waited in the same positions as before, their expressions unreadable. Kate Summers of Earth. Elder Zorth began. The council has considered your words. We have verified your data and find it consistent with our own research, though more advanced in certain areas. Kate held her breath, waiting for their verdict. The Drakari Empire has existed for 50,000 years, Zorth continued. In that time, we have encountered many species. Some became part of our empire. Others were deemed threats and eliminated. We have never considered a third option until now. Kate felt a flicker of hope. We propose a trial period, Zorth said. One cycle of seasons during which hostilities will cease. Diplomatic channels will open. Scientific exchange will begin on neutral territory. If after this period both sides find the arrangement beneficial, a formal alliance may be considered. Kate could hardly believe what she was hearing. She had hoped at best for a cessation of hostilities against human colonies, not a path to actual alliance. I accept on behalf of humanity, she said formally. Then more personally, thank you for your wisdom. Great elders, humans will not disappoint you. There is one condition, Zorth added, his eyes fixing on Kate. You will remain with us as liaison and guarantor of human compliance. You have proven yourself worthy to represent your species. Kate hadn't expected this. She had anticipated returning to Colony 7 to share the news of her success, but remaining aboard a Drakari warship, possibly for years. If that is your condition, I accept, Kate said without hesitation. Very well, Zorth said. Commander, Zalara will serve as your counterpart together. You will establish protocols for diplomatic contact with Earth and the human colonies. The council is dismissed as the elders filed out of the chamber. Zalara approached Kate, her massive form towering over the human. You have accomplished something unprecedented, she said. You survived the trial. You changed the minds of the High Council. Some would call it impossible. Kate allowed herself a small smile. I prefer to think of it as highly improbable. 5 years had passed since the Battle of Proxima 4. The alliance between humans and the Drakari Empire, once viewed with skepticism by both species, had grown into a powerful union. Kate Summers now held the official title of Alliance High Ambassador, the first to hold such a position, representing not just Earth, but all human colonies in negotiations with the Drakari. Today she stood in the newly completed Alliance Hall on neutral territory, a space station orbiting a gas giant at the midpoint, between Earth and Scar, the Drakari homeworld. The station was a marvel of combined engineering, its design incorporating elements from both cultures, a place where representatives of both species could meet as equals. Kate watched as delegates arrived for the historic first session of the Joint Council. High-ranking officials from Earth stood talking with Drakari elders, scientists from both species, compared notes on shared projects, military officers human, and Drakari discussed joint defense strategies. All interactions that would have been unthinkable a decade earlier. Commander Zalara, now promoted to High Admiral, approached Kate, her scales gleaming with the golden markings of her elevated rank. The two had become inseparable allies. Over the years, their friendship a symbol of what the Alliance could achieve, an impressive gathering, Zalara observed. The purest factions grow smaller on both sides. Kate nodded. 5 years ago, after Proxima IV, there were still many who opposed our alliance. But fighting together changed perspectives. The Vrex did us a favor in a way. The Vrex had not returned to attack either human or Drakari territories. The combined fleet that now patrolled their borders proved too formidable a deterrent. But other challenges had emerged. Other species watched the growing human-Drakari alliance with concern. Some sought diplomatic ties of their own, while others began forming counter-alliances. The galaxy was reorganizing itself in response to this new power. A young human woman approached them, Lieutenant Amy Foster, daughter of Governor Diane Foster, who had led Proxima IV during the Vrex attack. Amy had been just 16 during the battle. Now she served as an exchange officer aboard a Drakari vessel, the first human to do so. Ambassador Admiral Amy saluted both of them. The delegates from the Centauri Confederacy have arrived. Their representatives request an immediate audience. Kate and Zalara exchanged glances. The Centauri were a recently contacted species who had expressed interest in joining the alliance. Their technological level was behind both humans and Drakari, but their strategic position near several valuable resource worlds made them potentially valuable allies. We'll meet them in the diplomatic reception chamber, Kate said as they walked through the station. Kate reflected on how much had changed. The alliance had expanded beyond simple peace between two former enemies. It now encompassed joint scientific ventures, shared defense responsibilities, coordinated exploration, and increasingly cultural exchange. Humans studied ancient Drakari philosophy and art, while the Drakari showed unexpected interest in human music, literature, and cuisine. The Renewal Project had succeeded beyond all expectations. The Drakari population had begun to increase for the first time in centuries. Genetic diversity had improved, addressing the diseases that had plagued them for generations. In return, Drakari biotechnology had helped humans adapt to worlds previously considered uninhabitable, expanding the reach of human settlement. Most significant was the change in perception. Each species had come to see the other not as enemies or even just allies, but as complementary, parts of a greater whole. The Drakari contributed strength, tradition, and stability, while humans brought adaptability, innovation, and fresh perspectives. Their combined talents proved greater than the sum of their parts. Kate Summers herself had changed. The grief-stricken survivor of Lyra 7 had found purpose in building bridges between species, had found a new kind of family among both humans and Drakari. Her knowledge of both cultures made her uniquely qualified to navigate the complex waters of interspecies diplomacy. In the diplomatic reception chamber, the Centauri delegates waited. Their appearance was vaguely avian, with feathered crests and beaked faces. They stood shorter than humans, with slender builds and quick, nervous movements. Kate greeted them with the traditional Centauri gesture of welcome, a complex movement of hands that she had practiced diligently. "Welcome, honored representatives," she said. "May your flight through the stars always find favorable winds." The lead Centauri ambassador, Trilith,